Dengan merefleksi, dengan menggunakan cermin, kita tahu kelemahan kita di bidang apa. Gitu. Okay. The next form of reflection is collective reflection. In the stage of collective reflection, you are allowed to invite other people with different profession or level. Seperti yang dilakukan di lesson plan setelah planning, acting, and reflecting. Di sini mengundang beberapa ahli dari berbagai macam educational background maybe. Nah, di situ melakukan collective reflection. You may ask yourself, you may talk to yourself. I believe that collaborative writing resulting a well-written text, for example. I believe that working together in the teamwork resulting a good work, for example, just like that. Jadi keterampilan ini perlu kita lakukan. Or other form of self-reflection, for example, in my opinion, online teaching practice is monotonous, so I have to provide interesting materials uploaded in YouTube channel, for example, like that. In my opinion, online international conference gives me opportunity to improve my technological competence, for example, like that. Okay, next is dialogic reflection. Dialogic reflection needs partner to make a short conversation. For example, how do you feel when you employ Zoom meeting in the classroom or in the international conference? Oh, I felt very excited. Oh, I felt very happy, and so on. And then the last one is collective dialogic reflection. I think this dialogic reflection has the same meaning as the previous one. This is the Gibbs reflective cycle. There are 7 stages how to reflect what has been enacted. They are description, feelings, evaluation, analysis, conclusion, and action. Okay. Another theory of reflection you may use Sean theory of reflection. They are reflection in action, reflection on action, reflection for action, even more reflection before action. Reflection in action, we can employ reflection in action if we are teaching in the classroom and we find something critical incident in the classroom. Just like that, when I started to open the class, I found out the electricity, blah, 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 and so on, just like in this slide. And the second one is reflection on action. Reflection on action is performed when teaching and learning has been performed. At the end of the classroom is ended, you may use reflection on action. And then the last one is reflection for action. Reflection for action is employed to get better solution for this future. For example, this international seminar, blah, 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 blah. In the future, I have to create something new. I have to reorganize something new to get better one. Okay. Okay, audiences. Okay. Pak Azari, what about the time?
Maybe 2 minutes more.
2 minutes more. Just only my closing statement, maybe?
Yeah. Okay.
Closing statement. Okay, my closing statement is teaching is a complex activity in the classroom. It requires teachers who have good patience. It requires teachers who have good identity, who have an identity. If I quote from the book written by Mahmud Yunus in Tarbiyah wa Ta'lim, at-tariqatu ahammu minal madah, wal mudarrisu ahammu minat tariqah, warruhul mudarris ahammu min kulli syai'. It means that at-tariqatu ahammu minal madah. Strategy is more important than material. Wal mudarrisu ahammu minat tariqah. And the teacher is more important than strategy. However, warruhul mudarris ahammu min kulli syai'. Teachers who have passion or passionate teacher or teacher identity is the most important of all. I think that's all. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Dr. Hoiria. Something that I can conclude from the explanation represented by Bu Hoiria about teaching identity construction through reflective practice. Bu Hoiria memulainya dengan pertanyaannya, apakah menjadi guru itu merupakan karir masa depan kita? Apakah adik-adik yang ada hadir di sini masuk ke Fakultas Tarbiyah itu bukan sebuah kecelakaan, tapi memang sengaja untuk diniatkan untuk menjadi guru. Kemudian beliau menyiratkan ada 4 elemen dari identitas yang harus dimiliki oleh future teacher. Ya, ada 4 kompetensi yang harus kalian miliki, yaitu tentang pedagogi, kemudian profesional, personal, dan sosial. Itu yang harus dimiliki. Dan Bu Hoiria juga menekankan bahwa dengan kecanggihan artificial intelligence yang sudah ada, yang bisa kalian akses dengan mudah, itu bukan satu-satunya solusi. Ada sesuatu di balik itu yang tidak bisa disampaikan oleh mesin, tapi harus human to human, yang tidak bisa diwakili oleh artificial intelligence. Itu poinnya. Untuk sementara tolong dijaga kalau ada pertanyaan-pertanyaan yang sudah berkecamuk, ya, your curiosity getting increased, tolong ditahan dulu karena kita akan menyelesaikan dulu presentasi dari semua keynote speaker, baru kita akan masuk ke question and answer. So the next keynote speaker, I'm going to invite Miss Dr. Kylie Zhang. Are you there? Dr. Kylie Zhang. Halo. Dr. Kylie Zhang.
Belum masuk Pak Asari,
Belum
mungkin
masuk,
bisa
ya?
ke next keynote speaker.
Keynote speaker. Are you there, Dr. Yon Peter?
Hello.
Hello, Dr. Yon Peter.
Can
Are
you hear
there?
me?
Yes, I can hear you. Where are
Can
you?
you even also see me?
Yeah, I cannot see you as well. Where are you?
You can see me. Okay, it's just I need to hear to be able to see you. Great.
Can you see
so
me?
I should share the screen, right?
I cannot
Good.
see you, but you can see me maybe.
Can you see me?
I cannot see you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you see my slides?
Not yet.
They should be shared now.
Yeah, wait. We are waiting for the operator to connect your...
I think they are on.
They're on already? Yeah. So, yeah, without wasting more time, maybe I will...
But I don't understand why you cannot see me. You cannot see me now. I can see myself in the reflection.
It is okay. Without facing you, but our soul already connected each other.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
so, yeah.
Thank you very much for the possibility of joining this conference. I think it's an utmost important conference, so I'm very honored to be part of it.
Yeah, we are so happy as well to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
So I will talk about this inciting title about reimagining education, and I will do it from a particular perspective that's on my heart and is for me very important. And that has to do with the role of sociological enlightenment, as I call it. And I will go into what I mean by these different notions in a minute. I will take up the case of diversity, inclusion, and equity to illustrate how I see sociological enlightenment. it's important for me to say that this is an invitation into how I reflect. So it's reflective rather than a report from a particular investigation, a particular research, just to clarify what kind of genre we are into. Okay?
Okay. So I just
Okay.
Dr.
Now
Yon, Dr. Yon, just to
Yes.
remind you, I'm going to give you 15 minutes maximum, just to make.
Yes. Okay. In that case, I will be in a hurry. Just
Okay.
to place myself for the audience. Where do I speak from? I speak from Denmark, the
Okay.
University of Aarhus. The University of Aarhus looks like this from the outside. I have a background in teacher education and is right now teaching at the Danish School of Education. So to be sure that I arrive at my main conclusion, I'm going to start with my main claim, namely that we need to reimagine, if we are to reimagine education, I think it will be a very good contribution to found it on the foundation of sociology. And I will try to illustrate why. The basic argument is that we are currently, like the previous speaker in the introduction mentioned, in a sort of knowledge crisis. And my argument will be that this knowledge crisis can be seen in the way we deal with diversity, equity, and inclusion. So what do we need? I think we need to reform some of our educational ideas based on a realistic sociological understanding of conflicts and controversies, and that will lead to a rethinking and a reintroduction of what is normally perceived from a modern perspective of traditional knowledge. Am I talking okay? Not too fast, not too slow?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
You're fine. You're fine.
Thank you. Okay, so let's break down the theory. I will introduce this case of diversity, inclusion, equity in Denmark. So within the last 40 years, within the lifetime of myself, the demography of the Danish society and thus also education has radically changed. We have moved from what may be called a rather homogeneous demography where difference was not very much talked about and into a more multicultural, multi-faith society. If we put some percentage on it, you will see that with the rise of the new millennium, we go from a percentage of around 2 to 3 until 16% of immigrants and descendants. So that's a rather big change. If we break down the dimension of that change, we see that the change depends very much on which countries, from which countries the immigration come. So if we have discussion about the racial, ethnic, religious, cultural, and linguistic types of diversity. And what I will be talking about and focusing on are the immigrants from largely Muslim countries. That's where the sort of the dimensions of difference are the greatest. To begin with, how did the Danish approach to these different dimensions become conceptualized? I have this picture because it illustrates an approach where we actually were thinking that we just need to embrace diversity. But as is illustrated by this picture here, the fact diversity, when you embrace it like we have done, becomes actually also very, uniform in a way. We will all be different, but in the same way. The real, how to say, cultural, religious, ethnic differences were not approached and is not approached in the school, and I will illustrate that now. This approach to difference, to inclusion, it came through a process that started first with the idea of normalization. Normalization. It was derived from the 1960s, the disability movement, where reforms were made which aimed at the normalization of differences, introducing students with special needs into the classroom. That was the big idea of the 1960s. Turning to the 1990s, 1910s, and so on, we get a very, very different notion of diversity and inclusion, very much informed by the large organization like UNESCO. Here, normalization is exchanged for a very different notion. It is interpreted into a narrative that accounts for how we move from a society based on excluding the difference towards a society including the difference, basing itself on difference, basing itself on the values of diversity. So that's a narrative that may be illustrated, or that is often illustrated by this model. If we break down the model, we see that once in the past, we used to exclude those who were different from our society. Then we developed somewhat and started to segregate them. That's some kind of inclusion. And then in the 60s, 70s, we integrated them. But now we include them. But this has been a very contradictory process that I would like to illustrate by a very interesting, comic. I don't know if you know it already. If you do, I apologize, but let me read. Warning, this is an inclusive society. And if we feel you are talking, thinking, or behaving in a non-inclusive way, you will be excluded. This is a joke, like you can see, but this joke is corresponds very well to our experience in Denmark. In order to have an inclusive society based on difference and equity, we need rules. We all need to follow rules. And these rules, they need to handle people who are not inclusive. And the only way of doing that, we know, is to exclude people who don't have the right inclusive attitude. And that introduces the need of going deeper into the weeds when it comes to understanding the very social makeup of reality as a place where in and exclusion processes are taking place. So we need to go into the more empirical stuff now. If we look on the studies done of in and exclusion in classrooms and other settings, what we find is not that you have inclusion or exclusion. What you have are dynamics of in and exclusion. So the whole notion that we can exclude exclusion is a contradiction in terms. And what we need to understand is much more the sociological processes in exclusion in order to be able to sort of work educationally, pedagogically with these values. In a different example, I will cite Diane Ray from London, who has written a very nice piece based on her study of different girls, how they organize in a group. And what she finds is that this organization in groups is very inclusive into some groups and exclusive towards others. So if you are nice girls, you will think that the others they mess around, they're silly. And that's why they never get their works done. And we are the clever one. If you are like the tomboys, you will think that the girly girls are stupid and girly, and you will think of yourself as very different. So what can we learn from this? We can learn that the sociological structures are resistant to values of inclusion. I would like to also to present a short part from an Aarhus teacher, an interview with an Aarhus teacher that I think is incredibly important. This is from a school in Aarhus where there are absolutely no Danes. There are only immigrants' children. And what he sees there is hierarchies building up among groups of different children. Arab, Somali, Kurdish children, they are dividing up in groups. The Arab children are usually at the top of the hierarchy, followed by the Kurds, and at the bottom the Somalis and the African groups. And he adds, it goes completely wrong if Greenlandic or Eastern European children are mixed into the groups. So he had parents coming up and telling him, couldn't you make sure that my children do not play with children of this and that ethnic group? So here we have inclusion that's not really inclusion, right? You get groups in and excluding each other. How do the teachers deal with it? So what we find is that Danish teachers, they begin from this diversity, natural attitudes towards diversity. Here is a citation from a field work done in a school with Muslim background, and the teacher responds. It's by a colleague of mine called Laura Gilliam. And she says, when I ask about religion and how the schools handle children with Muslim background, the teachers emphasized that it was completely unproblematic and that religion did not play any role. The school was also characterized by a good atmosphere and dedicated teachers who did not look down on ethnic minority children in any ways. But in practice, the ideal of religion at the school meant that the children had to avoid emphasizing religious differences, downplay the importance of religion at school, and not identify as Muslim, but rather as children in the school. Teachers perceive difference as potentially diversive and conflict generating. Rather than talking about religious differences between children, they insisted on emphasizing on similarities. The mantra of the teachers was, we are not that different after all. In fact, we have much more in common than differences. So it's this commonness that becomes sort of the culture in the Danish school. And that means that there is a certain way that you have to be different, a certain way you have to be religious. That comes out in this interviews. And the researcher asked, is there a particular way one is supposed to be religious? And Karim answered, well, I wouldn't really advertise it and say it's good to be Muslim. It's like this and like that. It makes more sense than Christianity, and I wouldn't do that. But I would say that in the Quran, it says that Muslims do this. I would just say that to compare it with Christianity. Your teacher would like that. Oh, she would like that. So here you see what comes up here in this interview and is perceived by the student is, in fact, the very ethos, the very normative structure present in the Danish society as a way of handling diversity of religion. So if I sum up this part, I can say that what we have here is a certain attitude which is shared. It's an attitude about how to deal with differences. We can explain it, we can reflect on it. It has to do with how we cognitive and affectively respond to each other. But what it leaves out is the dimension which we call the worldview. We don't approach worldview dimensions in this culture. So that's what I would like to focus on, the worldview aspect, because I think it's extremely important when we think about imagined futures of education, that we are able to tackle with this worldview perspective, especially if we are dealing with multi-faith countries. And now I would like to say a little bit. I'm losing time. I don't know if I'm on time or off time. You must just stop me. I have something to say, but you just stop me whenever you feel like it. So now I'll say a little bit about this Danish European worldview. This very subtle thing. And I'll begin by one of your colleagues in Indonesia, citing him. It's Muhammad Affan. I don't know if you know him. I'm sure not all Indonesian people know each other, and not even all Indonesian scholars know each other. But he's written a very interesting dissertation on religious tolerance according to secular humanism model. And I would like to quote from his thesis. See, the first thing he says, which I find, when I read it from my perspective, very interesting, is that he says, in Europe, there's a humanistic religion, which is based on the theology of atheism, moral relativism, and political globalism. I think that's very true, that what we see in the story of Karim coming forth is a worldview. It's a way of treating your relation to the world based on humanistic ideals. We are not that different. The whole world is the same. Embrace diversity. That's the humanistic religion. Whether it's based on a theology of atheism and moral relativism, I'm not so sure about that, and I would like to go into that. But before doing so, I would like to cite Muhammad Affan on Denmark. I think that's very interesting what he writes. He says, in Denmark, in Danish society, imagine the the equal citizen in the model of civic integrationism.
Excuse me, Jan. Excuse me, Jan. I give you like 3 minutes more.
Yes, I'll just read this and comment on it.
Okay.
This is Affan. Even it is a doctrine that must be applied to everyone. Religious tolerance, according to Danish people, is the sense of indifference, relativism, and the failure to form moral judgment. Historically, tolerance in the widely accepted interpretation has been rejected as a form of indifference and relativism with respect to beliefs and action. And then we jump down, he says, tolerance in this sense means the inability to make judgment or to probably distinguish between right and wrong, good and bad, right and wrong. He repeats that, I don't know why. But just let me go on. One more couple of minutes. So what he does, Affan, is to sort of point to a moral crisis, a crisis of right and wrong, good and bad. What I suggest is that's not the case. What we are dealing with is much more a knowledge crisis, a crisis of categories, concept of distinction, of understanding how we distinguish between right and wrong, good and bad. And now you must stop me if I have to stop at that.
Yeah. We don't have much time.
Okay, I will stop by that. I hope that makes sense.
Before I close, before you close the statement that you have, could you teach me how to pronounce your name? Jon.
It's
Pierre?
Jan, yeah. Yeah, you do very well. I'm very, very satisfied with the way you do it. So
Yeah.
you just go ahead. I know when you call my name.
Yeah. You know,
I'm
trying to pronounce your name correctly. I'm
Yes.
searching on YouTube how to pronounce your name correctly.
But you're doing very well. But
Thank you so much.
I'm gonna try to get my face on the screen. You can still not see me or what?
Yeah, I can see you.
You can see me. Okay. Then
Okay.
I took on the nice jacket.
Oh, yeah. Jon, I heard from Miss Evie that before you are planning to come to Indonesia, right?
Yes, I am.
So in the future, maybe next year, I'm hoping you can come. Please come to UIN Jember.
I will. I'm very interested in it. I'm very interested in going behind the culture to understand the cultural diversity from different perspectives in the world. That's my main interest, actually.
So our students are enthusiastic to see you.
Thank you. Thank you for
They give
listening.
you applause. Everyone, give Jon Pierre applause. Okay.
Thank you.
Stay tuned. Okay. So we are going to have question and answer. Please stay tuned. Okay. Thank you so much, Jon.
I will.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, apa yang disampaikan oleh Jon tadi, Dr. Jon tadi bisa mungkin susah untuk menangkapnya ya karena jaraknya dan slide-nya yang berubah-ubah. Oke, Pak Asari mencoba untuk memberikan ringkasan dari apa yang disampaikan oleh Jon tadi, bahwa poinnya apa yang disampaikan oleh beliau itu tentang reformasi pendidikan sebagai fondasi pembentukan masyarakat yang madani. Makanya dia mengedepankan embrace diversity, artinya merangkul perbedaan. Dia membawa kasus-kasus yang ada di Danis, bahwa di Denmark itu banyak imigran-imigran mulai dari Somalia, mulai dari Afghanistan, dan dari negara-negara yang punya konflik. Makanya mereka dari normalisasi dari sesuatu yang diverse menjadi inklusif, bisa merangkul semua pihak. Dan yang paling penting lagi poinnya di sini adalah bahwa ketika melakukan reformasi bukan hanya sesuatu yang sifatnya kognitif, tapi juga sesuatu yang sifatnya mentalitas. Karena ketika kita bisa merangkul diversity, keanekaragaman bukan hanya bermanfaat, mungkin dalam konteksnya kita ya, kalau konteksnya di Denmark, keragaman yang mereka miliki bisa memajukan Denmark itu sendiri. Dan juga dengan Indonesia, dengan kemajemukan bangsa kita bukan excluded, sesuatu orang yang berbeda dari kita, tapi bagaimana kita menginkludkan, bagaimana kita menjadi masyarakat yang lebih inklusif, yang akan bisa membangun menjadi masyarakat yang madani. Again, give applause to Jon Pierre. Okay, next I'm going to call Kylie Zhang. Are you there?
Yes.
Okay, so without wasting more time, just to make the time more effective, time is yours.
Oh, okay. So I'll be sharing my PowerPoint. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I think earlier I was told that I was supposed to give the speech 2 hours ago, so I lose track. And let me do my PowerPoint. Yeah, just hold on a second.
Wait for a minute. We cannot see the.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I can see you.
Oh, yes, great.
Are you in the beach?
No, that it's a virtual background, as you can see. Yeah.
It
So
seems
let
so
me
nice.
find my.
Yeah, sightseeing
Yeah.
behind you.
Yeah, right. Yes, it's a nice place. I'm presently in University of Glasgow, which is in Scotland, so I'm not far away from the beach.
Okay.
Okay. Let me find my
Have you been to
PowerPoint.
Indonesia? Have you been to Indonesia?
Yes, many years ago when I worked in Singapore, I visit Indonesia many times. Yeah, so
Have you been to Jember? Not
I
yet.
don't think I have been there. Yeah,
You
but
should come. You should come
Oh,
next year.
oh, okay. Yeah,
Okay.
sure. I have
Okay.
been to those places that are near to the country of Singapore, but not necessarily Indonesia. Yeah, not necessarily. Yeah. Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Wait. Oh yeah. Okay. I cannot.
Can you?
Yeah, we can see
Okay.
now.
So I will have about half an hour to share. Is it right?
Yeah, we can see.
Okay. So I assume that there are some students who are listening to me in the auditorium and some are online. Is that true? Okay, so let me get started. I don't think I heard from you. But okay, so I'm Kylie, and today my speech is all about teaching for transformation, nurturing students' children's spiritual development. Excuse me. So I won't talk about religion or any type of religious faith, but I want to help our teachers and our educators to find ways to nurture students' spiritual development without talking about religion. And this is the research I have been doing in the past 1 decade or so. So I'm excited to be here with you to share with you what I have found. Can you see my screen okay?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We can. We can see.
Okay. So I have been all over. I have lived in different places all over the world. Excuse me. So previously I was in New Zealand and then Australia Catholic University, and also Singapore and Hong Kong. So now I consider Scotland my home. Okay, so in the past 10 years also I have been doing research about inclusive education, which actually related to what Yong just presented earlier. I also teach in the program of teachers education, positive psychology, and early child education. So my research on spiritual development of children actually draw from different perspectives and disciplines. Okay, so my presentation will explore the role of education and nurturing children's development. And I would like to share some of the theoretical perspectives as well as pedagogical approaches on doing this in the classroom. So my research will be practical and hopefully will be useful to some of our teachers and educators here in the audience. Okay. So I have a quick icebreaker. Okay. So spiritual development is not as important as brain development. Do you agree or no? Is it true or false? Somebody in the Zoom room can shout, If we have an answer. Is it true that spiritual development is not as important as brain development?
True or false? False.
False. Yeah, for those who come from Indonesia, you probably know about that. Our spiritual development is important, if not more important than our brain development. Okay. Thank you very much for your response. Okay. Next question. Children and youth develop holistically and their learning is enhanced when all aspects of the child are addressed in schools. So which means that the aspects of physical aspects, spiritual aspect, social, emotional, cognitive, are all these addressed in schools? Nowadays, probably not. But do you think their learning will be enhanced if we address all aspects? True or false?
True or false? Are you sure? They said true.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes,
I don't
it
think
is
so.
true. Oh,
True.
well, research has told us that for children, youth to develop holistically, all these aspects should be addressed, even though they are not currently being addressed anywhere, that I know of. So that hopefully will be the goal of education in Indonesia and many other countries in the world. So the answer is true. Yes, research told us that, yes, if we address all these aspects, it will be great. But if not, then we are not helping our children to grow holistically. Okay. I know my time is short, so I'm going to go a bit faster. If I'm too fast, please slow me down and then you can raise your hand or give me a signal. So why am I researching? What am I researching? Why is it important? I think I already talked about that. So it's important because I want to see our next generation to grow holistically. And for over a decade, I have been focused on empowering our teachers or other professionals and educators to engage with children in ways that foster their deeper sense of awareness, empathy, and a sense of purpose in life, and ultimately contributing to their overall transformation. Okay. So I have published at least a dozen of papers, research articles, and chapters in this area. However, with the policy of separation in the church and the state in many Western countries, I don't know about the current situation in Indonesia because I have not been back for more than 10 years also. Nowadays in many countries, it's clear that teachers and support personnel really want to touch on topics about the spiritual dimension of the lives of students, especially those with disabilities. Sometimes we sideline them, we water down the curriculum, and that we think that we have more important things to focus on. However, children ask questions about values and morality, beliefs and behavior, but more importantly, the meaning and purpose of their life in the light of the uncertainties they face in today's world. I think all of you follow the news. You know what is going on around the world, in the Middle East, in Europe, and everywhere. So children, they do ask questions about values, about morality, about belief, about behavior of different countries, different governments, and themselves. So these are actually core questions about children's spirituality. So let's talk a little bit about spirituality from the theoretical perspective. So it's not assumed to be a specifically religious concept, although it does include religion. And so my definition of spirituality takes from Boswell, Boswell's work. So he says that it's about the purpose, meaning, self-transcending knowledge, meaningful relationship, love and commitment, as well as a sense of the holy among us. So some of the aspects are, it's maybe related to religion, for example, a sense of the holy, but other aspects like meanings and purpose, self-transcending knowledge, etc., are not necessarily related to religion. So spirituality is a broad concept. It may include religion, but it's not necessarily about religion. For example, a child who does not have any religious background may ask, why I'm here? Does my life have a meaning? Does the meaning depend on how successful I am in what I'm doing? And what about the fact that I'm going to die one day? So young children ask these questions. Youth ask these questions. Okay, so this is from Parker Palmer's book. He says that holistic education supports teachers bringing their learning from their spiritual life into the classroom, which I'm going to talk about next. So when we talk about children's spiritual development, we are helping teachers to look at holistic education, look at their children from the holistic perspective, And it also helps the children to support their feeling whole and complete, and their suggestions that these are unifying force or connecting force in support for children, especially in today's world. So why is important? Because it's all about being human. Why is important? Because it helps us to look at children holistically. Why is important? Because it helps teachers to bring in their integrity into an authenticity into the classroom. And this is a good news for teachers who are tired or burnt out, who think that, they cannot keep going. So when they look at their spirituality, they are able to connect with their children, their students spiritually as well, and they're able to teach better. Okay, so let me skip this one. So I just want to highlight that research towards education and neglect the spiritual aspect is not holistic and it's not complete. And spirituality, in some cases, for example, when you educate children with disabilities or children who are marginalized, it's all about social justice, and it's very relevant to children of all ages. So I often tell my training teachers that what really matters is not the subject you teach. What really matters is that you teach the whole child and not just the subject. So we stop teaching subjects like math and science. We start to teach children, and that is how we address the holistic development of children. Pedagogical approaches, I'm going through this fast. I just have a few main points to share with you all. So one is to teach with integrity and passion. And second is to foster the connection and relationship in the classroom. So you'll notice that I'm not talking about religion here. I'm not talking about Muslim and Christianity, even though I myself do have faith, but I believe that teachers can do all of this in the classroom without offending anybody from different religious background. So remind me how many minutes I have, Abby?
I give you 5 minutes more.
Okay, great, thank you. So I want to encourage our teachers to nurture the sense of wonder in their children and to embed the spirituality in everyday activities and build a solid foundation for life. That our children, they live with a sense of identity and purpose, and as a result, live a sense alive with morality. Okay, because I only have 5 minutes left, so I'm just going to illustrate some of the main points with examples. So what do you mean by teach with integrity and passion? Well, we mean that we want our teachers to model, okay, and want our teachers to not just a good role model for their children, but they teach with integrity, and when teachers are in the classroom, they have nothing to hide, and they can teach authentically, and they don't just teach what the government wants them to deliver, but they teach with their passion, and that they can bring their whole being into the classroom. Some of the questions can help us teachers to think about how we can nurture the development, spiritual development of children. So how does our work reflect who we are? And one time I heard a child ask a doctor, he said, "Okay, Dr. Peter, who are you?" The doctor say, "Well, you call me doctor, I'm a doctor." But then the child asks again, "So who are you when you are not working as a doctor?" Then the doctor had no answer at all. So, how does our work reflect who we are? So when I'm not teaching, when I'm not a teacher, who I am? These are some of the questions that can help our teachers to reflect more deeply. So, let me skip this one. So I challenge our teachers in the higher education and in the primary, secondary, and early years alike, to look deeply within ourselves and to strive to embody wholeness in our lives. And they will inspire students to do the same. Because after all, it's our lives that make up the curriculum. Not the subject we teach, not what we do, not the activities we do together, but our lives that make up the curriculum. So build a deep connection in the classroom. So there are some examples I want to give you, So one of my participants in the research project say, children in nowadays society, they have too busy. They often packed with learning opportunities, and very little time is devoted to help them become happy and well-adjusted human beings. So spending quality time with children without hurrying them, without rushing them, is one of the key things we can nurture the children's spiritual development. I know that I probably only had 2 minutes left, so nurture a sense of wonder. Okay, I found that it's good to take the children out for a walk and spend time in the nature, and we can also incorporate art, music, and other creativities into the classroom and give children opportunities to explore. That is one of the ways to nurture their sense of wonder. You know how we adults lose a sense of wonder as we become older? We just take things for granted, but we should nurture that in our children. So this is a challenging part to do that in everyday activities, means that we want our curriculum to be engaging, and that we want our curriculum to be relevant, and that we can always help our children, learn beyond the classroom. We take them to the community, we take them to the outdoor education facilities. I know there's plenty in Indonesia. We go hiking, we go backpacking, we do different things so that we can embed spiritual development in our everyday activity. The last point I have here is to build a solid foundation for life, which means that we want our children to support their inner life development, and that if children ask for purpose, a meaning of certain religion of their life, we should explore with them. We should never be scared of saying, "Oh, don't talk about that." We should help them to discover strength and use them, and not to teach on deficit, but to teach on their strength. Okay, this is my conclusion. There's no way to educate without including the whole person, yet there's no whole person without the spirituality. Okay, So that's all I have to share. I'm sorry for rushing you so much because I just know that I don't have so much time. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask now. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Kylie. So please
You're
stay
welcome.
tuned because I myself have a question because
Okay.
I haven't got how do you distinguish between spirituality and religion? It is the part point, the most important point that you make it. Later on, maybe the audience, the participant going to ask such question. Please stay tuned.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kylie.
You're welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, teman-teman yang ada di sini, mungkin yang tadi disampaikan oleh Dr. Kylie, poinnya adalah bagaimana dia melihatnya, dia membicarakan tentang transformasi pendidikan, bagaimana menumbuh kembangkan spiritualitas anak, perkembangan spiritualitas anak. Dan poinnya, kalau mungkin di konteksnya kita, memang kita sudah pendidikan agama sudah masuk di dalam kurikulum kita, tapi di dunia barat, khususnya di dunia sekuler, mereka memisahkan antara pendidikan agama dan pendidikan umum. Sehingga membuat mereka, yang mereka kenyang dengan sesuatu yang sifatnya kognitif, sesuatu yang sifatnya logis, sesuatu yang sifatnya tidak spiritual, mereka menjadi gelisah, mereka punya masalah tersendiri di dalam diri mereka. Cuma poin yang diberikan oleh Dr. Lily menggarisbawahi mereka, dia menggarisbawahi, dia membedakan antara spiritualitas dan religion. Karena spiritualitas dan religion tentunya beda, sesuatu yang konsep yang berbeda. Mungkin itu dari Dr. Kylie, nanti kita bisa perdalam lagi dengan tanya jawab. Oke, yang terakhir, last but not least, Dr. Manuela, are you there?
Yes, hello, I am here.
Okay, Dr. Manuel Hans. We are so happy to have you. So I heard from Dr. Miss Effie that you are planning to come to Indonesia. So
I had planned to come, yes, but unfortunately with the change in the dates, I couldn't because I had committed already to a presentation here in Ireland, which is in 2 days' time. So I'm disappointed, but hopefully there will be more opportunities. And I actually have a number of PhD students from Indonesia who are doing excellent work, and it is really exciting to work with them. So even more, I would have loved to come. But I have been to Bali.
Yeah.
20 years ago,
Okay.
a long time ago, and I really enjoyed my stay there.
So we really appreciate the intention that you have, that you are planning to come to Indonesia. I really believe if you have strong intention, maybe in the future I can see you here in Unhas Jember.
That would be wonderful. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I would love
Yeah.
to come again.
Doctor,
Can you see my slides?
Yeah, I can see your slide. Okay, without wasting more time, I give you time to give your presentation.
Okay.
You can start now.
That is
15
great.
minutes maximum, okay?
Goodness. Okay, I had planned for more, but I will try my best.
Yeah, try the best.
Thank you very
Okay.
much to the speakers who've gone before me. Really interesting presentations, and I think what I will talk about links very well with a lot of the ideas that have already been explored here. So it is truly an honor to present a keynote at this third annual conference of Islamic education. And I would first of all like to commend the organizers on choosing the focus of equity and transformation at this time of unprecedented and accelerating change linked to things like globalization, climate change, migration, and technological advancements. And of course, the ensuing increasing diversity in our classrooms. It is our responsibility as educators to take action to ensure that every student has the opportunity to thrive and belong. As the architects of classroom environments, teachers play a pivotal role in fostering inclusivity and ensuring equity for their learners. This makes teacher education, in my view, a priority and a fundamental starting point for meaningful reform. I have been involved in teacher education for 2 decades, and in my various roles, I have worked closely with teachers, researchers, and policymakers on the front lines of transformation. I'm currently the editor also of the European Journal of Teacher Education, and I hope that you find engaging with the articles that we publish in this journal useful. I am deeply committed to advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion, and my goal as a teacher educator is to cultivate teachers who feel respected, free to express themselves authentically, and empowered as intelligent agents capable of navigating the complexities of equity and inclusion across diverse educational contexts. So in this presentation, I will discuss ways of promoting strong equity and inclusion in and through teacher education. Oops. And I'm trying to forward my slide. Oh, goodness, my slide is not moving.
Operator, slides. Next slide, please.
No, I have shared myself, but I can't forward
okay.
it, fortunately. I don't know why that is. Oh, no, here we go. So the concept of strong equity I want to look at first. It's drawn from recent work by Cochrane, Smith, and Stringer-Keefe, who critique the conventional invocation of equity in teacher education as a catch-all connected to various issues surrounding diversity, justice, and gaps in outcome and opportunities for marginalized groups. So thin equity primarily concerns individuals' access to educational resources. In contrast, strong equity recognizes the complex and intersecting historical, economic, and social systems that create inequalities. Although my work primarily focuses on the European context, I believe that many equitable education principles extend beyond geographic boundaries. The OECD's 2021 Education at a Glance report focused on equity, defining it as ensuring that access, participation, and progress towards quality education are available to all, regardless of personal or social circumstances such as gender, socioeconomic status, or immigrant background. I advocate, together with other colleagues, for a broader view of equity that additionally focuses on supporting all students to reach their full potential, and the previous speaker talked about their holistic development, and that would, in my view, also include developing a sense of belonging, well-being, and self-worth, irrespective of their identities and circumstances. So let me very briefly give you a flavor of the context in which I have spent most of my career as a teacher, educator, and researcher. I am based in Ireland at the University of Galway, at the very west of Europe, as you can see here in this picture. In Ireland, there are about 4,000 primary and secondary schools and 70,000 teachers. Teaching has for a long time been a very respected and popular profession in Ireland, even though more recently there have been some problems with teacher shortages in a number of second-level subjects. Ireland's history is quite unique in Europe, in the European context, as it has been deeply shaped by occupation, emigration, and a long struggle for independence. Under British occupation for 800 years, many groups, including Catholics and Protestant dissenters, began emigrating as early as the 1600s. The Great Famine in the mid-1800s then led to 1 million deaths and forced another 1 million people to leave the country. And even after independence in 1922, emigration remained high due to economic struggles. This all, however, changed during the so-called Celtic Tiger economic boom years from the 1990s to the mid-2000s. And thanks to foreign investment and growing technology sector, we started to see net immigration in Ireland, and this significantly diversified our population. So today, students from about 160 different nationalities attend Irish schools, and most newcomer students speak a first language other than English. In addition to the cultural diversification of student populations, the Education for Persons with Special Educational Needs Act also led to increased inclusion of pupils with disabilities in mainstream schools. The Irish government has responded to changes in the general and school population with a range of initiatives to address educational disadvantage and to promote equity and inclusion in education. And you can see a selection of these on this slide. Ireland's education system has long been intertwined with religious institutions, particularly the Catholic Church, which played a central role in providing education when state systems were limited. And this connection deepened during British rule when penal law suppressed Catholicism, making the Church a protector of Irish culture, language and education. As a result, to this day, many schools in Ireland still operate under religious patronage with a strong Catholic ethos shaping their curriculum. In recent years, however, Ireland's increasingly diverse society has sparked debates over the role of religion in education, and the relationship between the Catholic Church and school education has become quite a sensitive and much discussed issue in Irish politics. These debates often highlight the tension between faith formation, religious education, and equality legislation, as well as the struggle of balancing tradition with inclusivity to ensure that all students feel welcome and respected in a changing social landscape. So increasing classroom diversity and growing awareness of social justice issues have pushed educators in Ireland, across Europe and globally to rethink how we approach equity and inclusion in education. And I will now discuss how we can promote strong equity in and through teacher education. To structure my discussion, I will address 5 fundamental questions: the why, what, who, where and when of equitable and inclusive teacher education. I propose these questions as a framework for rethinking and developing targeted strategies in teacher education that promote inclusivity and equity across diverse education contexts. In my view, the question of why is central. Teacher education for equity needs to build a strong rationale for equity and inclusion as a foundation for any concrete practical work. This means that we need to pay attention and continually work towards understanding, valuing, and thinking critically about equity issues with student and practicing teachers. What you see on this slide are core components involved in this ongoing process of rationale building. We must engage and work towards understanding of the complex and intersecting historical, systemic, and social systems that create inequities. Teachers and teacher educators need to understand the root causes of disparities and ask questions about how various groups came to be advantaged or disadvantaged in the first place. Next, teacher educators need to hear, recognize, and engage with the diverse experiences of minoritized or disadvantaged groups. Recognizing these experiences and unique challenges is crucial in my view, as it highlights the role of education in promoting social justice. All this work is very, very difficult work, and for many student teachers and indeed experienced teachers, teacher educators and researchers, there are many very uncomfortable truths to grapple with and digest. The deep engagement, interrogation and confrontation with issues related to equity, disadvantage, privilege, power and education's role in perpetuating inequalities is extremely challenging. However, this is what is needed to promote teacher education if we want to see real change, because real change requires a significant reframing of powerful assumptions and dominant ideologies. And this means questioning long-held beliefs and being open to new ways of thinking that prioritize equity and justice. So understanding, recognizing, and reframing will ultimately, hopefully, trigger transformation in thinking and a shift in mindset. Next, let's explore the what in teacher education for equity. What texts or content should students engage with, and what are effective pedagogical approaches? Our goal is not just teaching inclusive pedagogies, but fostering teachers who notice, who act, and who reflect on equity and inclusion in their specific contexts. We engage student teachers in critical discussion about theoretical perspectives from philosophy, sociology, psychology, and history of education related to inequality. We critically evaluate education policies and curricula from an equity perspective and consider national, local, and individual factors impacting students. The growing field of inclusive education, including universal design for learning, provides very valuable insights for student teachers and practicing teachers. Given the complexity of equity issues, supported reflective practice is crucial. School placements are of course key, but they must be linked to a deep understanding of structural barriers. The who in teacher education for equity is also crucial. It involves understanding who the teachers are, with whom they interact, and who influences decisions. Teacher diversity has been a core research interest of mine for nearly 20 years. This slide shows the cover of a book on the left that I recently co-edited, focusing on diversifying the teaching profession. You can also see the title of an article I recently submitted for review. So let me summarize in a nutshell some key arguments of this work. Who the teachers are matters, and in many contexts, teaching bodies remain homogeneous and drawn from majority groups. It is absolutely vital to prepare all teachers to teach all students, but it is also crucial that we ensure that our teaching profession better reflects societal diversity. A diverse teaching staff can positively influence the psychological, social, and pedagogical dimension of learning environments, promoting stronger equity. Teachers from underrepresented groups, that is in Ireland, teachers from minoritized ethnic groups, from lower socioeconomic groups, from the LGBTQI community, and teachers with disabilities bring invaluable personal and cultural insights and social justice-oriented dispositions, which can profoundly impact their pedagogical practices. Their first-hand experiences of challenges faced by minority group students can foster deeper understanding and more attuned mentorship. Interactions with teachers from minoritized backgrounds can challenge perceptions of power and inferiority, fostering greater cognitive flexibility and changing how students engage with others. Research shows that teachers from various underrepresented groups are more likely to identify structural inequities and discuss educators' responsibilities in addressing inequalities. Their unique insights can also transform teacher education. Our book includes perspectives from Ireland, the UK, Iceland, Scotland, Australia, and Portugal, with chapters focusing on multiple diversity dimensions, including gender, sexuality, age, disability, social class, and ethnicity, and looking at these from the perspectives of teachers, school leaders, and policymakers. We argue for the importance of diversifying teaching cohorts to better reflect diversity in society. However, the research I and others have conducted in this area also highlights that diversifying the teaching profession is not an equity panacea. Increased representation alone is not enough. Multiple studies have reported worrisome experiences of educators from minoritized groups, including racial tokenism, essentialization, high stress levels, and difficulties fitting into normative majority cultures. Our research found that teachers from underrepresented groups often engage in self-surveillance, concealing aspects of their identity due to fears of compromising career
Dr.
opportunity.
Manuela, I'm sorry.
Yeah?
Can I give you like 2 minutes more?
Yeah?
2 minutes
Being
more.
caught out.
Okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
Disrespected or rejected. Many teachers who participated in our research struggled with the tension between their desire to support students with similar backgrounds and worries about disclosing their true selves. As they strive to belong to their school environment, they often alter their speech and behavior to avoid being identified as coming from a less privileged group, for example. This issue of normative majority school cultures is intensified in Ireland, where nearly 90% of states' primary schools are still Catholic and following a faith formation religious education curriculum. The percentage of people living in Ireland in the population who identify with the Catholic faith is recorded at 69%, with many of them not practicing Catholics. So despite constitutional guarantee of freedom of conscious and religious practice, Non-Catholic teachers often face a dilemma, as being true to their beliefs may jeopardize their employment prospects. So in our work, we call for ethical approaches to teacher diversity, which address inclusion, equity, and social justice, not only for students, but also for teachers from diverse backgrounds. If we want to create truly equitable learning environments, teachers from minoritized backgrounds must be empowered to be authentically present in schools, open about their identities, and fully engaged with the school community. We need to pay much more attention and link equity and inclusion for teachers from underrepresented or minoritized backgrounds to our efforts towards creating equitable and inclusive learning environments. In considering the who, it is also important to remember that we are luckily moving towards a much more collaborative approach to teaching and education, and that teachers are working towards collaborating in multidisciplinary teams with other professionals such as psychologists and social workers to support all students and their parents better together. Equally important is the growing emphasis on amplifying students' voices in decision-making and learning processes. And to implement these collaborative approaches effectively, teachers need strong interpersonal and collaboration skills, and therefore teacher education programs should equip educators with the tools to foster collaborative environments and to encourage student participation. So where should we prepare, support and enable teachers to implement equitable education practices? This question sparks a lot of debate, and there's a lot of different approaches in different contexts internationally. And while I can't cover these now, I want to highlight that as multiple contexts and multiple learning and practice sites are crucial for our goal. Connecting academic and practical components in teacher education programs is an enduring issue, and collaboration between teacher education institutions and placement settings is key. Non-formal education settings, engagement with wider communities, indoor, outdoor, and virtual spaces each offer unique opportunities, and an international dimension can also help to broaden teachers' perspectives and expose them to diverse educational practices. And finally, when does teacher education for equity and inclusion end? Well, the truth, of course, is that it doesn't end. It is a lifelong journey. And this continuous development involves fostering environments where all students can thrive, built on foundational pillars, as I mentioned at the beginning, cultivating strong ethical and social values, developing the necessary skills and knowledge to address diverse educational needs effectively, and empowering teachers to be proactive agents of change within their classrooms and communities. By embracing these values of competency, agency, readiness, support, experience, reflection, growth, and commitment, we can ensure that teacher education not only prepares educators for the immediate challenges of the classroom, but also supports their ongoing development as advocates for equitable and inclusive education throughout their careers. At the heart of our efforts, of course, lie core values of empathy, respect, and justice, guided by hope, which I believe is key as well, and really, really important, the hope for a more equitable future. I believe that by sharing experiences and working together across borders, like we are doing here today, we can not only deepen our understanding of equity, but also develop more creative and context-sensitive approaches to achieving it. So thank you for the opportunity to contribute to the reimagining of education with you here today. I look forward to further collaboration and discussion.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Manuela Heinz. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, saya mencoba untuk menyimpulkan apa yang disampaikan oleh Manuela. Tadi beliau menyampaikan tentang mempromosikan kesetaraan dan inklusivitas melalui pendidikan, karena sehingga memunculkan apa itu inklusivitas, apa itu kesetaraan, kemudian mengapa kita harus concern dengan equity dan inklusivitas, dan siapa yang harus menggerakkan, mempromosikan inklusivitas, dan kapan dan di mana kita harus mempromosikan kesetaraan dan inklusivitas itu poinnya. Itu semua dari yang disampaikan oleh seluruh panelis kita. Untuk selanjutnya, we are coming to the question and answer. Please raise your hand and who are you referring to? The question that you have. Okay, one, and one. There's someone here? No? Oke, mulai dari, berarti tiga orang aja ya? 1, 2, dan 3. Oke, dari mbak yang pojok dulu. So, who are you referring to? The question, yeah, where are you from? Mention your name and dari prodi apa juga ya?
So, I want to introduce myself. My name is Nazila Syarifatul Zakia. My major is Tadris Bahasa Inggris. Saya mau tanya ke Mem Rodia. Students have a different learning style, ma'am. So, as a good teacher, is it better for us to teach according to the student learning style or our own learning style?
Okay, that's it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next, yeah.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, I would like to say thank you so much for moderator for giving me very nice time. Today, I would like to ask you some question for the first speaker and three speaker. Therefore, the first speaker, the several point I can conclusion right now about education, like the teacher should have like the identity in the class and the concept of the reflection like the mirror. I think this the first speaker or the miss right now. I think this is not a big deal from the problem or the mistake in the class right now about the teacher. I think and I know because the biggest mistake right now about the teacher in the class that about the identity, the responsible to teach about the student in the class, the responsible that is so many responsible about it. If you're talking about the teacher. The problem about the teacher right now is not like the concept like that, I mean, but the problem right now, it is the salary. If you have the salary in the institution education, I think the teacher can do more than you hope. That is my gap, and that is my question. What do you think about that? Okay, for the second speaker and third speaker, maybe just the same topic, moderator, right? They are talking about the inclusive concept and then how to make like the equality from the education, right? But if you're talking about Indonesia concept, we right now in this new era we can have to implementation like the inclusive, right? Even their student like DS in the psychology like Down syndrome, they also to can the same of the education to access, yeah. But I'm not focused about the problem in Indonesia, but I want to know the Western from the other country. The second speaker talking about like us about the inclusive concept education, and I want to know what kind you should do and then answer about the different. You can make sure the different can unite, and then they are can still to respect about the different. And do you believe also the religions can be a solution for make inclusivist and then like the worldview in religion make the medium for implementation? And for the three speaker maybe just saying what kind of the inclusive concept and equality make of the worldview from the religion can be a solution for implementation that concept, maybe like that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The last one, this lady.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Avela Nita Karani Finanda. I'm from English Education Department. My question is for the second speakers, Dr. Yarn. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it. My question is how to make a difference into a beautiful difference in education, and what do you think the level of tolerance is at the moment? Is it increasing or decreasing? Maybe you can tell us in by your opinion and by your opinion in Europe or in your country. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi
Thank
wabarakatuh.
you so much. So, okay, only 3 participants who give us the question. So let's start from Dr. Hoira. You got already the question? You can answer the question.
Thank you. Here I would like to answer the first question first. Based on the pedagogical competence that I have explained earlier, that students, teacher or pre-service teachers are required to have pedagogical competence. It means that they have to be able to identify students' learning style. Is that the point? And also, not only students' learning style, but also students' multiple intelligence. As we know that teacher, this is the pedagogical competence that should have, or that should have possessed by teacher. So the question is, should we teach based on our teaching style? Is that like that? Okay. I think, yes, in terms of our competence, our style, but on the other hand, we have to focus on the students' need, because they have to learn easily. So this is the pedagogical competence itself should be possessed by teacher. So if the teacher or pre-service teacher have good understanding about the pedagogical competence, they will provide a strategy that's suitable for the students and also material that's compatible for the students. What have I explained is focus on the teacher competence. I also sometimes teach based on my teaching style. For example, I usually teach using podcasting, for example. The aims of podcasting is to understand, to know, to measure our students' understanding naturally about the material that we have discussed. Just like that. And second question, do you get it what I mean? First question? Siapa tadi? Okay. The second question, could you please once more repeat once again? The question is? I see.
Everything about salary, even the many students graded of the campus, even they are have the percent like they are smart people and anything for that, but if they are about the salary like that, I mean in the class, I think that's meaningless over that.
Okay, I think it's normal. Yeah. I think it's normal, manusiawi ya. But the most important thing, if we are a passionate teacher, salary is yes, but it is a side effect of our action in the classroom. But if we have passionate, if we have a passion, just we teach happily in the classroom. Yeah. So. Yeah, it is not easy for me because as a human, of course, we search for money in teaching. Yeah, 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 yeah. I think it's normal. Same like you, maybe. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Dr. Yon, are you
Yes,
there?
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Did you get the question?
Yes, and
Okay.
thank you very much
Okay.
for the questions. Very interesting. I shall see if I can say anything of use, value to them. So as far as I understood it, the first question was the dilemma of choosing between following the child-centered education style where you take the learner's background into consideration versus the central perspectives on education where you structure the education based on the curriculum. And in my view, I think these should not be seen as alternatives. They should rather be seen as in a dialectical process. So what you need to do as a teacher is to move back and forth. You need to stand firm on the values of the institution and then make the how to say the adaptation, the role change into the student. So in order to make these two approaches meet, I think that's the very definition of what teaching is. I hope that helps in regard to the first question. The second question, what I took from that, and now you must correct me, I think there was a first question about the salary, right? Or what? Was it concerned with that?
The question that referred to you, the third person, she's
Yeah.
asking about the degree of tolerism in nowadays in global scope.
The degree of what? Excuse me.
Tolerism, tolerance.
Yes, that was the third question. I got that. The second question was about something, and then about religion. I was asked about the role of religion in inclusion and whether religion should play a role. And I would like to also to approach that and then toleration in relation to that, because I think they go together. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. It's a very, very, very spot on question, I think. I think it has to. There's no way we can approach inclusion without a deep understanding of religion. Because religion has to do with what motivates and people in a very, very deep sense of the term. So that means that the meaning of my presentation is that in Denmark today, we do not have the intellectual tools to approach this dimension. And it's a very, very big problem due to the fact that the conflicts of values have very much to do with culture and religion. So I think what is neat, and that's why I talk about the sociological enlightenment. And now I will say something perhaps a little bit controversial. You must tell me if I'm out of line. I think what is so inspiring and interesting about this age in which we live is that it forces us to decentralize our perspective from our own worldview. That means that in order to make different religions converge into a multi-faith society, we really need to expand our consciousness so that we can include not only the other person, but also the point of view, the viewpoint, the perspective, the worldview of that other person. I think that's the great challenge. And when I call that a sociological enlightenment, it's my perspective that I think you need the intellectual tools to make that transformation. And in order to do so, we need a firm ground. And now I didn't get time to present this aspect in my speak, but the point is, in my view, sociology has the key to opening up these questions about religion. Religion at its foundation is is in my view a very social thing. So let's just leave it there. We can go much more into it. But about toleration, That's a very difficult question because I think we have seen the problem of toleration, that if toleration is a superficial thing, then you just put the problem under the carpet, and then they will sort of become too big, and then they will explode. So in that sense, I think that's the process we have experienced in Denmark. First, we tried not to confront differences, and then all of a sudden problems emerged which we couldn't handle, and then toleration fell to a low degree, you may say. I think that's it. But at the same time, I'm pretty optimistic because in everyday life, people get along, and toleration has expanded a lot in my lifetime, and I'm very pleased to say that it makes society more interesting and for everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Yan. Okay, and Dr. Kylie, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry.
Yeah. You got the question?
If there's no question, that's fine. I hope to come and see you, and hopefully that will generate more interesting discussion when we meet face to face. Okay.
The question that actually he wants the response from you. The equity and inclusivism is already established here in Indonesia. So what you can learn, what do you think about the inclusive tolerance, equity in Indonesia?
Sorry, is it about my presentation or is this a general question about equity?
It's general question. It's general question.
Oh, well, I must say I appreciate all the government and all the educators and education sectors have done to promote equity and social justice in Indonesia. And it's amazing that you have such a diverse population and different kinds of religions and cultures, represented there in Indonesia. And I feel that we who are in the West have much to learn from what you have done. I also think that, just like every other countries in the world, always room for improvement, in terms of equity and inclusion. And I would like to hear what your thoughts are as well. So.
I'm still curious, how do you distinguish between religion and spirituality?
Right. Yeah, sorry, earlier I went quite fast. So actually in my PowerPoint, which hopefully you organizer will share with the students, I did say that spirituality is not assumed to be a specifically religious concept, although it does include religion. So if you had to define this term, in terms of which one is broader, which one is narrow, I would say spirituality is an umbrella term, is broader, and it defines, the human quest for meaning, purpose, and meaningful relationship, love, and commitment, etc., etc. And it may also include a sense of the holy or the divine among us, right? So in a nutshell, spirituality is about the connection with the self, with others, with the world, and with the divine. Okay, so some people, they may find the expression of spirituality in religion and the focus on God. Yeah. Does that make sense? I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you so much.
Welcome.
Okay, I think it is the last agenda that we have for today. So, ladies and hello.
No.
Yeah, we only open one session for question and answer because the limit of the time. So, ladies and gentlemen, by the end of sorry,
our colleague from Ireland.
Ireland. Manuela. Dr. Manuela, are you there?
Yeah, I don't think there was a specific question for me, so if you're in a rush.
Maybe you can give like brief conclusion.
Yeah, thank you very much, and best wishes for the rest of the conference.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, by the end of the question and answer, that's all discussion for today. I'm as moderator, if found any mistake, I'm begging your apology. I'm really sorry. And also, I would like to thank to everybody, to the participants, to the committee, especially to our keynote speakers. Give a big applause to our keynote speakers. Yeah, it is all for me. I hope it is not the end of our meeting. I hope we can still have a meeting next year, hopefully.
I hope so too.
Yeah, that's all for me. Yeah. Good luck. And last but not least, see you. Bye-bye. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All the keynote
Thank you.
speakers. See
Dr.
you.
Manuela, Dr. Kylie, Dr. Yon, and Bu Khairia. Thank you so much.
Oke, saatnya Bu Khair bisa berdiri di sini dan mohon berkenan Pak Wadek 1, Pak Hotibul Umam untuk menyerahkan vandal dan juga sertifikat. Pak Asari bisa mendampingi. Baik, saat ini Pak Wadek 1 FTIK akan menyerahkan vandal dan juga sertifikat kepada salah satu keynote speakers kita, Dr. Hoirah dari UIN Kiai Haji Ahmad Siddiq Jember. Baik, terima kasih kepada Ibu Khairia sebagai keynote speakers dan juga Pak Asari sebagai moderator. Diperkenankan kembali ke tempat. Hadirin sekalian, terima kasih sudah bertahan sampai sore ini, pukul 5 kurang 10, luar biasa semangatnya yang masih ada di sini. Perlu diinformasikan, besok masih ada sesi atau day 2. Sesi atau day 2 hari kedua akan dilaksanakan sesi paralel. Sesi paralel adalah pemaparan dari para presenters yang telah mendaftar di seminar internasional ini. Bagi partisipan yang berkenan bisa hadir di lantai 2 FTIK, jadi boleh masuk di ruangan 1 sampai dengan ruangan 5. Dimanapun kalian ingin masuk di situ silahkan masuk join untuk mendengarkan berbagai ilmu pengetahuan yang baru. Setelah itu, untuk sesi paralel akan dimulai jam 8 dan insya Allah akan berakhir 2 jam kemudian. Setelah itu semuanya akan terfokus di sini kembali untuk mengadakan atau menghadiri closing ceremony Aceh. Ditunggu kehadirannya besok. Sampai jumpa. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.